Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of Olio. I see in the chat I have Tomoso, my friend Tomoso. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I hope you're doing well. It's been a minute since I've seen you, homie. I hope you're doing well. Today's podcast is going to be exciting because it's a topic that I think, or at least I think, or I feel is very relatable for really quite a lot of us. And I feel like some of the conversations we have are, hopefully definitely felt by a lot of us, and kind of relatable in that way. But I think today's is going to be one of those things where it's like, I think this is stuff that all of us feel in our own ways. So I'm really excited to talk about it today. I titled this podcast "The Weight of the World," but it's going to be talking about kind of the pressures that we face. That's going to be the word of the day. I think the word on the street is going to be pressure. Because we're going to be talking about like two different areas of pressure that we as people feel. The first is kind of things we do on a day-to-day basis, maybe ways that we, if you feel like you're a people pleaser or you feel different pressures from people to do different things on kind of a day-to-day basis. And the second area of pressure that I want to talk about is kind of the pressure of society. And this is going to be a big, this is going to be some spacey stuff right here. But I want to talk about the pressure of society and how that applies to us and the path that we are taking with our lives. So those are kind of the two areas that I'm really excited to talk about today. Before we dive right in, I want to give a bit of context, as I like to do, to start us off, kind of ease us into the conversation a little bit. Today, I honestly don't have too many plans, which is good. Yesterday, I had some errands and things I need to get done, so I was out for a little while. Today I am going to be hanging out with a few friends. Here's a fun tidbit for you. The plan, I think, with them is one of my friends wants to put AstroTurf in their car. So, instead of the rug or the mats, they want it to be AstroTurf, which is like fake grass. So, I think I'm going to be helping with that. If that happens, I'm definitely going to be recording that. So, I guess stay tuned. For that. Yeah. So, with that, let's dive in. Let's dive right into this. To that first category of pressure, which is our day-to-day person to person or person to self pressure. And talking from my experience here, I grew up and am still working on it. Nothing is ever really complete, I guess, in that way. I feel like there's always room to grow. But when I was younger, especially, I grew up very, very much a people pleaser. So I had a very, very tough time saying no to things, in a lot of different ways, with a lot of different opportunities, some good that I'm glad that I did and didn't say no to, and others bad that dude, I should have said no to that. And I think why is I was not conscious of the fact that I was feeling pressured to agree to these things. So something would come up, somebody would ask if I could do something or if I wanted to do something, and I would be like, yes, I'm here, I can do it, anything you need. I didn't realize the pressure that was being put on myself in that, when I was clearly overworking myself and causing myself too much stress, or literally doing things that I had no intention of actually doing, like doing things that I really didn't even want to do, but somebody asked, so I would say yes, because I kind of would get this little bit of satisfaction when they say thank you, or when they're delighted that I can help them with something. So, kind of an interesting thing, and I think it boosted, at the expense of my time, energy, and so many other things of saying yes, it boosted my, I almost want to say ego. Like some things, sometimes that's a good thing, right? If it's helping your confidence out, but like in this case, it was, more so, I was trying to tackle all these different things so that I would feel like a superstar, and people would be like, thank you for doing, wow, I can't believe you, wow, thank you, and I felt that pressure, and I really bought into that, all the time. Some examples, I'm even trying to think like different things. So different things, I'll start with like church for me, which was a huge part of my life growing up. Huge. There were good things and bad things related to that when I said yes to different opportunities. Some of the things I said yes to were amazing. Opportunities that I would have never had if I had, if I hadn't just said yes to it. And things that I'll remember forever, right? Some really positive memories there too. Positive friendships, relationships, different things like that, all coming from that. So I think there was some merit in that, but blindly saying yes also led to many opportunities where I would be asked to do something that I didn't want to do, or I didn't have the time or the energy to do, and yet I did it anyways. And with church, it was, church has another layer onto it, right? Because with that, you're also being, the pressure is even stronger because you're being told that, your God wants you to do these things, or your God needs you to do these things, not just me, right? So that's a whole nother ballpark where that pressure is really sky high. But yeah, so church was an example of where I used to just say yes, 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 and I grew up saying yes. And here's an interesting one. Now I hope they're not listening to this. I like to be as vague as I possibly can be in this, but I have to say this, and they may know who they are if they heard this, but I'm going to remain as vague and anonymous as I can. The first person who I was ever in a relationship with, like a romantic relationship, probably lasted a month. I was probably in like 7th or 8th grade. No, it would have been even earlier than that. Maybe like 6th or 7th grade, something like that. And I grew up saying yes to everything. And this person had asked me if like we wanted to be in a romantic relationship, and I didn't. But I didn't know how to say no. Which was really bad, because it led me into this whole thing with this person. And, if I had just said no, I wasn't interested, then none of that would have happened. But eventually I found out, I wasn't doing well in the relationship. Thus the reason why it only took a month. And then I had to break it off, right? But it would have been so much less pain and way easier if I just said no. But at the time, I was all used to saying yes. So that's a fun fact for you. And it was tough, and I don't think it really ever started to change until, I don't know, really only a few years ago, not that long. And even now I'm still, again, I'm still definitely going through it, but a few years ago, I finally started to weigh all of my decisions by looking at not how will it affect the other person, because I think where a lot of this stems from, right, is me growing up Christian, which was, putting others above yourself, right? And I think I did that too much. So I wasn't looking out for myself enough, and it was like a win-win in my head at the time, right? Because I was being like, okay, I'm putting others above myself, and yet they're always saying thank you and making me feel good. So like, look at this, we're great. This is it. Here's the symbiotic relationship. We're doing great. But in reality, I was really just putting others above myself, and I had, no say in the matter. But it didn't really start to change until I started questioning my Christianity, questioning my faith, and I'm not in it at all anymore, in the faith, that is. So now in retrospect, I actually can see all of that, but if you had asked me a few years ago, I would have had no idea what you were talking about. Yeah, I think now that that's over, I'm starting to see more like, okay, I have to put myself first. And I think that's been helping me a lot in a lot of different areas of my life, is like, take care of others, absolutely, and do everything that I can to make this world and this this planet we live on, and the communities that we have, and the people that we meet and love, and all of that. I try to do everything I can to make my stay here worth it. Like, make my time here on earth impactful in some way, in a good way. I do everything I can to do that, but yet, at the same time, I'm realizing that, okay, I'm trying to do that for everyone, as I know all of us really, I think, aspire to do. But I also live here. And this is also my time, right? So I'm learning to actually put myself first and not as much worry about when other people ask me for something. They're asking me. It's not a demand. I don't have to say yes to it. They're asking me. And if I say no, then they can find someone else. And it's not a big deal. And of course, it's tougher when the things that you're being asked of are more serious or they're deeper. But like, I'm trying to realize, like, no, if I don't have the energy, or if I literally just don't want to do this, I don't even have to have a reason. I don't even have to justify it. Like, if I don't want to do it, I could say no. And that's a big realization for me, in overcoming the pressures of kind of that daily life that we all experience. So that's a piece of that. Still definitely learning. I have a long way to go. I caught myself this morning. Here's an example that happened this morning. I'm trying to sell a phone that I have, a smartphone. And somebody messaged me on Facebook Marketplace, and it was somebody from, like, I don't remember where, somewhere in Europe. And now, to be clear, I had originally posted on Facebook Marketplace as like for local pickup only, so I could meet up with someone and actually give them the phone and they would give me money. So it'd be like, you know what I mean? I prefer that than shipping like a $700 thing, you know? So I had it listed for local only. Now this person messaged me from Europe and they're like, hey, yada, yada, I'm interested. I want the phone. Can you ship it here? And my first thought was, oh, yeah, I really only wanted local pickup. Never mind shipping it to Europe. And the person was like, oh, I can pay for it. You know, I'll make sure it's here. And my first gut reaction was, oh, okay, I'll make it work. Like, I'll go. And then I realized, I'm like, wait, whoa. I'm like, slow down. This person is buying the phone from me. I'm in charge. And do I want to ship the phone to Europe? No. I wanted somebody to like come into town. I would drive down the road and give it to them. Like I didn't want to ship it to Europe. So I had to be like, okay, I'm sorry. It's not going to work out. It was as easy as that. That was it. I just had to say no. But my first gut reaction was like, oh, maybe we'll try to make it work. You know, I'll figure something out. But I said no. And now, you know, I have a few other offers and things I'm looking at that are much more reasonable. So a little real world example today in that way, I guess. Now moving on to kind of the B section of this whole conversation, which is the pressures and the weight of the path that you choose as a person in society today. And I've been feeling this a lot, and I'm trying my best not to. And I've been making strides for sure in the right direction, in making my mindset clear. But I certainly still feel this. And what I mean by kind of the pressures to follow a path are mainly in the education into a job, that the air quotes success, right? And again, this brings up a whole, you know, psychological question of what do we define success as, right? And that can be anything. And that's different for everyone. But the success in air quotes that I'm talking about here is like kind of the American dream. It's getting a full education, going into 4 years of college, graduating, getting a job that is stable, pays well, so you can have a nice house and nice things. And I think that this is starting to change. Excuse me, I'm a little stuffy still today. I could see that this is starting to change as people change and the world changes. But I think still that underlying thing, at least when I was in high school, it was a very like, you were kind of just expected to go to college. Like it was a pretty much like, yeah, you graduate high school to go to college to go get a job after that's in that field. And that was very, you know, expected. And so for me, somebody who was very uncertain of what I wanted to do and still today, very uncertain of what I want to do with my life, that was a lot of pressure to be like, you know, I'm like, dude, I'm going to be graduating high school and I have to pick a college to go to major in something. I don't even know where to start with all that. I'm like, listen, my dream job is to be a musician. like, and who knows if that's even really going to pan out. But like, I was going to go get myself into this and really start something that I didn't even really know if I wanted. And like, there was just a lot of confusion and pressure in that for me because I didn't want to follow that path, even though society and people expect me to. every time I see somebody who's catching up with me for a while, like, or even if I'm at work and somebody hasn't seen me for a while and they come up, they're like, hey, how's school going? Or, hey, you're still in school, how are you ready for summer break? And, all these different things about school. And I'm like, every time I see them, I'm like, I'm not in school. I'm taking time off, from school. And, kind of every single time I tell someone that, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. It's really good. You know what I mean? Like that's the response that I get most of, which is fine. It's not like that. I'm not up at night thinking about that. It's just, every time it happens, it's like, well, yeah, I know. Yeah, I've heard this before. It's not what you expected, is it? It's that kind of thing where it's like, it's not expected. But the reality is I'm having a good time doing what I'm doing and taking a break from school and exploring what it's like, kind of just winging it. That's been really fun. But yeah, it's part of that pressure that I hope lifts soon. Not just for me, but for you and for everyone, right? So that we can have more of an accepting, understanding world where that's not even expected anymore. I think would promote much more creativity and much more flexibility, and overall would promote more great ideas. Because how many times do you think somebody has had an amazing idea for something or has had a dream about doing something and wanted to do something but wasn't able to do it because they were forced into going the traditional route into a school and learning something that has already been taught and learned before? I feel like that's probably happened a lot. And obviously I'm not saying school's bad. I'm not trying to do that at all. In fact, education, I think, is probably the single best thing you can do for yourself if you are interested in something that can use that. You know what I mean? My two brothers are way smarter than I am. And that's another part of pressure, by the way. That's a little sidecar to this conversation. I used to feel pressured by my brothers to, as the oldest brother, I used to feel pressured to be the shining example and be the shining, jewel who's got everything together and it's like the example. And I've learned in the past year or so that doesn't need to be like that, and I can still be an example and let go of that pressure, and be kind of fulfill the older brother role in different ways than I ever would have expected. But that's a conversation for another day. But my two younger brothers are way smarter than me. They're both, one of them is majoring in business and is a freaking genius, goes to different conferences and stuff already. He's in school. I'm like so proud of him. The other is still in high school, but is planning, we don't know yet, but is planning to go to school for biochem, and is genuinely interested and really smart and good at this stuff. And also freaking amazing. Can't believe that. He tells me, he's like, yeah, I'm looking for biochem. And I'm like, what even is biochem? Like, I'm not smart. I'm not wired like that. I'm not smart like that. So I'm smart in other ways, but not like that. So super proud of them for that. And, in that case, for both of them, like, obviously the educational route makes perfect sense. And I'm psyched watching them grow up and move on and do all these crazy things. It's kind of the best thing ever, being an older brother in this scenario, I gotta say. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. I know I was I feel like if you listen to this podcast, it might be thrown around a little bit. I'm feeling scatterbrained today. So I hope it made a little bit of sense. It was at least a little cohesive, but who knows, really. I'd like to end us off with a question, as per usual. I'd like you to think about what we talked about today, the word on the street, pressure. The last time you felt pressured by a family member or a friend, or, anyone, a coworker, whatever, the last time you felt pressured by them, did you buy into it? Did you succumb to that pressure? Did you, do what was being asked of you, or not? If you did, was the outcome good or bad? Because sometimes pressure is good, right? And I didn't really talk about that side of the coin too much, but sometimes you could be pressured to do something, like I said, what I talked about with my church opportunities. Some of them were really good. You get pressured into doing these things, and it ends up being the best thing you ever did for yourself. And other times it's something you really didn't want to do, and it ended up being negative. So I'd like you to think about that. The last time you've been pressured, did you give in? And if so, was it good or bad outcomes? Yeah. With that, thank you so much once again for listening today. And again, I apologize if we were a little scatterbrained, a little all over the place today. I've got some energy in myself right now that I can feel. I probably need to go outside, enjoy the fresh air. It is a beautiful day out there. So that is my plan for the rest of today. But yeah, other than that, I will catch you tomorrow in a new video on YouTube and next week in the podcast once again. Thank you very much. Be safe, be well. You are loved. Peace.